Hey folks, welcome back to the shop. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about stabilizing and dyeing. I've been doing a lot of it lately, trying to stabilize and dye and get some interesting colors, some different pieces of wood. Right now I got 5 little blanks dyeing here. And what I've been doing is this is stabilizing resin from Best Value Vax. And I've been dyeing it with Illuminate dyes, and I've got 4 different colors, and I've been vacuuming and alternating the colors. I got blue here, purple, I don't know if that'll show up on camera, some pink, and some red. And this is some other blue because I just started this one today. This is actually a piece of a baluster that I got at Home Depot, and it just was redwood and it looked really neat, so couldn't resist. But these are all different pieces of either apple or curly maple or curly birch, and these have been in here for about a week. I've been alternating them, spinning them around, basically getting dye all over myself. And what you do is, it takes a lot more dye than you think when you mix up the mixtures. And you gotta top them off every so often because the wood does absorb quite a bit of resin. And this is my handy dandy vacuum part, made by Best Value Vax. And what you do is, it's just got a little gauge on here, 2 valves, and I use a vacuum pump. This is the same type of vacuum pump you would use for air conditioning repair, just doesn't have the set of gauges that go with it. This is a Zenny from One Stage Vacuum Pump, and I got this from Amazon, and it vacuums pretty quick. I mean, you don't really want it to vacuum too fast because this stuff does foam up as the bubbles escape the wood and the resin absorbs into the pores. But I just and I'll leave that vacuum for quite a while until it's ready. Now over here, I've got my last batch, or a couple from my last batch that I stabilized in just a jar of clear. This is all burl pieces, and my toaster oven set at 200 degrees. Here is just a piece I'm working on for a customer. It's a burl and black Illuminate resin. It's really pretty. I'm gonna finish this up and get a dyed blank on the lathe, and I'll show you how I got my pink blank here. This has been dyed using 3 different colors, and mostly it's turned pink and purple, but we won't know until we look inside once we turn it, and we'll see what colors actually come out. I'm here and I got it set up for a diamond painting pen, and this is a brand new 7/32 inch drill bit. I find that once you get dull, that's when your holes start to get wobbled out. So keep a new drill bit handy for whenever you're turning a diamond painting pen and it starts to get a little dull and you start to have to push. You just gotta go get a new bit. They're $4 or $5, so it's worth keeping a new bit. Saves you a lot of work trying to fix a wobbled out hole. Okay, I've got it all mounted up here in my little setup. I'm just using my utility chuck with a 7/32 inch drill bit and a little piece of acrylic as a spacer. My cone-shaped center. Crank it down nice and tight. Make sure it's not going to slip on me. And I'm going to be turning today using just my round carbide cutter. Okay, now without the bark on the outside of the wood, you can see that we've got quite a few little colors that have crept in here. Some pinks and some blues, still some uncolored sections. This is probably the sapwood, where there's a little bit of the tree's natural resins are trapped inside here. And it shows off the grain pretty well. And I'm going to be cutting this into a very interesting shape. I'm going to do a spiral on it once I get it into a basic 2-bump shape. So I'm going to turn it down to that shape and we'll start the spiral. I'm going to go ahead and sand this up to 600 grit before I start the spiral. It just makes for easier sanding once I get the spiral all cut. And unlike acrylic, wood sands a lot quicker. You don't have to worry as much about your previous grit scratching, because you're going to put a finish on it no matter what. And since we're always spinning across the grain of any wood on the lathe generally, always got to come in the long strokes along the grain of the wood. Helps to take out the tool marks. I do it even in acrylic sometimes. Depends on how soft the acrylic is. Now I do a lot of things by feel. Now, I run my fingers across, and I can detect any imperfections, rough spots, places, high and low spots I need to sand more. I do a lot of things that I make by feel or by eye. move on to the next sandpaper. We're up to 320. I've been experimenting with the woods lately, trying to see what kind of figure I can bring out with different dyes and different soaking techniques. This one didn't turn out quite as bright and bold as I was expecting. This one had been soaking for, I think, 3 or 4 days. Ones I have in there right now have gone, I think I'm at 9 or 10 now. I keep forgetting to put them in the oven. So they should be pretty well soaked with the resin. This looks like the most is the red and the blue that came in. We're gonna go 400 grit. Okay, that's pretty smooth. I don't think I'm gonna go to 600 yet. Let me wipe this with a little bit of alcohol and we'll see what it looks like. Make that lacquer thinner. That's what I got handy. Lacquer thinner is probably the best thing to wipe your dust off with when you do wood. Because lacquer thinner won't raise the grain like alcohol will. And it evaporates so fast. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it won't leave any residue on your wood. It takes off all the sanding dust. Only thing is, it will just eat away at the paper towel you leave it on there too long. At least the blue shop tells it does. So now for the interesting part. If I can find my file. There we go. Now I've researched a lot of different ways people do this. I've seen them some people will take a saw, like a hacksaw, and they'll come through and they'll make a light cut all the way around as they spiral it. I don't do that. I find it's just another step I don't really need to do. I do everything by eye. So I'm gonna pick a spot. I'm gonna say right here because it's the center of the ring here. And I'm gonna establish how shallow or deep or more spirals I wanna go. If you wanna go with, say, 2 or 3 twists, you wanna go this way, along the length. Now, the more you go this way, the more spirals you'll get. I usually like to go about here. It's about maybe 45 degrees or so, a little bit more. And I'll start just by leaving my finger up against here, creating myself a little notch, right like so. A little hard on your finger, but it works. Now that I got my little notch established right here, I'm going to take this and I'm going to follow this forward till I get it where I want it. And this is actually a rasp. I think this is a Nicholson rasp. This is a good one. Don't cheap out on your files and your rasps. They get dull really fast. I just follow that groove, I make that angle as I twist, and it'll make you go in the same direction all the way around. As you can see, it's starting, you can start to see that spiral real nice. And we're going to work it all the way through, all the way to the other end. Now you can see I've gone and I've got my spiral cut all the way down. I'm going to go do my second flute. Now the second flute, I'm going to try get set exactly on the other side. The same way. Establish the notch. And we're going to go just all the way back around, trying to make sure you keep in mind where your two notches are, your above notch and below, and try to keep right in the middle. You can adjust, it won't look funny. That's what sanding's for, if you need to adjust a little bit more. And if you come off, we're gonna sand this over again after we're done. So it's not the end of the world if you slip a little bit. You're gonna see the spiral gets real tight in the middle and it gets wider as you get to the outside. The way I used to do the wand handles when I made Harry Potter wands last year, it takes a little bit of practice to get your cuts quite right. I'm a little out of practice. I haven't done a good spiral in a while. And I know I've seen people do this with CNC machines and all number of devices and methods, but I like it this way. It gives it that hand carved effect. And nothing's perfect when you're woodworking. I'm a woodworker, not a machinist. If I was making this out of metal and was doing machining, I'd be worried about tolerances and perfect angles and that kind of stuff. But this is more art. Machining's more science. Finish up a spiral. And now I'm just going to take the file and clean up my depth as I go around, just like this. Now when you do this, take your other file. This is just a chainsaw file, and it's a little smaller, but clean up my edges. I hold it at a steeper angle as I take it through, and now this is such a much finer file that it will sand like sandpaper. Take down the edges and give it that little bit more of a rope quality. And just do it with both your grooves. And depending on the effect you're looking for, I've even gone back in, taken a flat file like, or a half round file like this, and taken off all the tops and made it almost like rope. I don't think I'm going to do that on this one. Now I'm going to sand in the groove, and for that you can continue through with the files, or you can wrap the file with or anything round. This is the punch tool for my lathe, and you just take sandpaper, wrap it like so, follow your lines all the way through. Doesn't take a lot. This is a lot of handwork. That's why I don't offer this as one of my standard works. These kind of things are art pieces only. I mean, they'll be functional, but I do this for the artistic side of it rather than something that's reproducible. There's nothing on this is reproducible exactly. And this is just 220 grit. And we're gonna do 320. You don't have to go very far with the grits. You just want to make sure that the bottom of that ridge is smooth. Because once you put a gloss lacquer like I'm going to, it'll show up any of the imperfections. So we just want to get that bottom smooth. A little bit more sanding across the tops. Trying to knock down anything. Just wipe it up. See what we're looking at with a little more lacquer thinner. There we go. Yeah, I think it's looking nice. Gonna hit it with some 400 grit, and I think I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna finish this with lacquer. I don't like polyurethanes. They're too finicky for me. They provide the best protection, but lacquer doesn't have that plasticky look like polyurethane does. That's why I like it better. I'm going to be using a Deft gloss lacquer, and this is one of my favorite ones to use. I also use a Lathe. This is pretty good, but the Deft has a sprayer that you can twist. Makes it a lot easier for when I'm doing diamond painting pens or crochet hooks or anything like that. When I was doing this a lot, I actually had some tape, double-sided tape, on my tool here. But it fell off from punching out the centers that I use. Yep. I think that looks good. Dismount this. Wipe it one more time with the lacquer thinner. Trying to get as much of the dust off as I can. And now we will lacquer. So up here, where my air compressor setup is, this is my little attempt at soundproofing. It doesn't work real well. I gotta get some more soundproofing materials for it, but I thought you guys might like to see the transformation when I Spray it with lacquer for the first time. It's my favorite part. This is when all the colors come out. You can see the blues and the purples. It blends up through. The pinks and the red. As you can see, fall's here for us, so I'm gonna have to bring this back in my shop with me so it'll dry, because it's about 40-45 degrees here. So leaves in the neighbor's yard just turning. The pine needles are falling. Thanks for watching.